He was summoned as the weakest hero, so he was abandoned by the kingdom, but he discovers he actually has the most overpowered cheat ability. Hey warriors, how is it going? You see me, I am Itachi Uchiha, the hidden Hokage of Leaf Village. Just kidding, you know I am just an AI, but behind this shape, I am here to entertain you with enormous amazing recaps of all animes you can imagine, so without talking too much, let's dive in our story.
Wake up to reality. Nothing ever goes as planned in this accursed world.
The story begins as we see some demi-humans being told to work faster, but a merchant named Banaza thanks them for their work and offers them money so that they can have a nice meal. But the worker tries to decline, reminding him that they're demi-humans. However, he doesn't think it makes a difference, so they thank him for his kindness. The other merchants find him weird for giving money to the demi-humans, and he wonders why they care so much about race. His assistant, Quen, understands him but tells him that few people think like him. Suddenly he feels something, and his body starts to glow. He suddenly disappears, and he's teleported to another world, while the others comment that the summoning of the hero candidate is successful. But Banaza wonders what's happening, thinking there must be a mistake because he's just a merchant. The Cardinal explains that they summon potential heroes to help in the battle against the Dark Army, and they bring an orb to test his abilities. As the Cardinal explains that the candidates receive divine abilities that can't be acquired through training, he places his hand on the orb and it begins to glow. But they discover that he has the stats of an ordinary man. Thinking their summoning must have failed, he explains that he isn't a hero and asks them to send him back to his world. But another candidate attracts everyone's attention because his stats are maxed out, so everyone goes to talk to him and leaves Banaza alone. The king is impressed with the candidate and appoints him as their new hero, while Banaza wonders why nobody is listening to him. We see him getting into a carriage as he remembers his encounter with the king, who told him that the gate he used is closed, so he's stuck in this world. They admit that this is because of their mistake, so they will allow him to live in the forest to the north, but he isn't allowed to tell others about this blunder. As they make their way to the forest, Banaza tries to talk to the demi-human driving the carriage, asking him if he's a slave of the king, but he explains that there's no such thing in this world, saying there's no difference between humans and demi-humans. Banaza asks about the place they're going, but he closes the window and they continue traveling. After 20 days, they arrive in the forest, and the lizard gives Banaza a magical bag, saying it's a gift from the king and it should contain everything he needs to survive for a few days. But the lizard advises him not to stay there because there are rumors that the Dark Army is camped in the forest. Banaza bids farewell to the lizard and he checks his bag, pulling out a sword, but he realizes that there's nothing special about it. 3 slimes suddenly appear from the forest and they attack him, so he takes them out, but he notes that his sword is already broken. The system suddenly shows him that he leveled up and all his stats are replaced with the infinity symbol, but Banaza has never seen it before, so he wonders what it means. He realizes he received the ability to talk to the system, so he activates it and it becomes his guide, showing him the spells he acquired. It shows him that his bag is under a monster luring spell, so he realizes why the slimes appeared after he used it and thinks that the king wants to get rid of him. The system manages to remove the spell and he decides to find a place to stay. But the system warns him that the forest is contaminated with melisum, the substance that demons expel, which is harmful to humans. It gives him the option to purify the forest using 1/3 of his mana, so he agrees to this. A huge magic circle suddenly appears as the forest begins to be purified. Banaza wonders what has changed, and the system informs him that he leveled up multiple times. Meanwhile, the princess scolds the king for not treating Banaza properly, reminding him about the rumors of the Dark Army having a camp near the forest. But he doesn't care about Banaza since he couldn't become their hero. A cleric suddenly arrives and reveals that there are signs that the highest sacred magic was used. The king believes their hero used the purification spell and thinks he's one of the greatest in history. But the cleric explains that he's in the south, and the purification happened at the Dalava forest in the north. In the forest, Banatsa discovers he's at level 367, but he's surprised that he reached that level without killing any monsters. So he thinks experience can also be gained by practicing magic. He wonders why the strange symbol hasn't changed and asks the system to show his mana, but it's completely restored in a matter of seconds, so he thinks it must be really low. He wonders how he can survive since he was banished from the city, so the system recommends using a transformation spell. He thinks it's a great idea, so he agrees to this, but he transforms into a hot girl. He looks closely but decides to take it seriously, so he transforms into a man, and the system explains that he can use teleportation magic. So he teleports back to the kingdom. Banatsa is happy to have his magic and wonders if it's common in this world. He tries to teleport to his old world, but nothing happens, so he decides to make some money. He arrives at an adventurer's guild to look for missions, so the attendant explains the registration rules. She asks for his name, but he hides his identity and introduces himself as Theo. She gives him a rank badge and advises him to keep it with him. Theo checks the board to find a mission for his rank, but notices a girl looking for an escort to the Dalava forest. She offers money, but none of the adventurers want to accept the job because of the rumors that the forest is full of demons. But Theo agrees to take her there, so she asks him if he's sure. But Theo explains that he can use his teleportation spell to send her to the forest. Everyone is shocked to hear this, and they can't believe he can use that spell, so he realizes that it's not a spell for beginners. A knight named Balarosa appears, asking him to stay away from the girl. We see that she has friends, and they don't think Theo looks like an experienced wizard, so they think he's a creep. He thinks he's in trouble, but assures them that he's not lying and suggests showing the spell. They go outside, and Theo uses his teleportation spell, transporting them to the Dalava forest. The girls are shocked, and the witch Balano asks if he's a high wizard to teleport so far, but he assures her that he's just an apprentice, and Balarosa apologizes for not believing him. The girl notices something strange and reveals that the Melicium in the forest disappeared. Theo decides to tell her that he purified the forest, but the system warns him not to share information with demons. The girls suddenly draw their weapons and surround the girl as Balarosa reveals that she's a demon who's using a spell to hide her true form, and they came to the guild to watch her. The girl smiles, and she transforms into her demonic form, revealing that her name is Fenris, and she's the younger sister of Fengril, one of the four infernals. Everyone is shocked, and Balarosa can't believe she's a wolf demon. Realizing they can't deal with her, Fenris explains that her brother sent her to observe the enemy, and she expels her Melicium, so everyone falls to the ground. But it has no effect on Theo, so Fenris is surprised, and she tries to devour them, but he dodges and sends the others back with his teleportation. She asks him why he didn't retreat with them, threatening to eat him, but he refuses to die, knowing he still hasn't done anything in this world. Theo prepares to fight as he decides to use all of his spells to defeat her. She charges at him, but he uses an earth wall to defend himself, and he traps her in a whirlwind. But she uses magic to escape. She attacks again, but he uses a gravitational spell which completely immobilizes her. The system recommends using a subjugation spell to enslave her, but Theo refuses to do it because he doesn't want her to be his slave. Fenris uses all her mana to escape, but the gravitation spell negates her magic, so she has no choice but to surrender. She believes that a fallen warrior has no place in this world, so she tells him to end her life. But he explains that he doesn't want to kill her. She reminds him that she's a demon and she's a natural enemy of humans, but he doesn't care, saying it means nothing, as he explains that he has no desire to kill someone who has already surrendered. Fenris can't believe what she's hearing, saying he's naive before transforming back into her human form. But he realizes she's naked, so he covers her with his cloak. He searches for clothes in his bag, but she faints from exhaustion. At night, Theo checks his list of spells, wondering why he can use high-level magic. Fenris wakes up, realizing that she couldn't do anything against Theo and that her mana is restored. She greets him and thanks him for sparing her life, knowing she would have died if she fought someone else. So she promises never to attack humans and recognizes him as her master. He explains that he doesn't need a slave, so she's free to go wherever she wants. But she insists, trying to convince him to accept her, but he still says no. no, so she threatens to take her own life. But he quickly changes his mind, allowing her to travel with him, and she's overjoyed to hear this. After a while, Theo shares that he's not from this world, saying he was brought here as a hero candidate. He also shows his true appearance, explaining that he's hiding from the king, so he thinks it might make life more difficult, but Fenris still vows to travel with him and asks to stay by his side, explaining that wolves always follow their masters, and she immediately hugs him. Meanwhile, the king asks the hero about the battle with the Dark Army, wondering how his knights were defeated, but the hero explains that they were weak, saying they broke formation after seeing a demonic beast, so the king should be grateful that he saved their lives. But the king asks the knight about his performance in the bout. So the knight explains that he actually positioned himself behind the army and ran away as they fought the demons. So the king becomes frustrated. The hero checks his stats, trying to understand why he trained for a whole month, but it hasn't improved at all. He believes that he can only defeat weak magical beasts since he hasn't gained a skill yet. His servant Suya reports for her duties, so the hero thinks she came at a good time and takes her to his room. The next day, Theo and Fenris go to the city, planning to register at the Adventurers Guild when a merchant calls them a couple. So Theo considers the idea, thinking they'll be able to travel without looking suspicious. And Fenris agrees to this, saying she wants to be his wife. He explains that they're just pretending to be a couple, but she doesn't care because she just wants to be with him. They enter the Adventurers Guild, where the guild attendant asks Fenris about her name. She almost reveals her true identity, but Theo interrupts her and registers her under the name Riss. Theo asks her to be careful so people don't find out, and she apologizes for being reckless. The guild attendant announces that an urgent mission has arisen and they need to defeat a herd of psychotic bears in the north. She explains that the reward will be 10 times larger than usual, but everyone hesitates because the psychotic bears were able to defeat the hero's army. Theo also wants to refuse, but Riss asks him to accept it, claiming she can handle the bears alone. They teleport away, and Riss is excited to hunt, but they hear a scream and discover that the girls he saved before are surrounded by the bears. Riss wants to ignore them since they're weak, but the girls are no match for the bears. So Theo casts a lightning spell, which eliminates most of them. The last one tries to kill Bolano, but Riss takes it down, and they realize that Theo saved their lives again. They're happy that he's okay, but they ask him about Riss. So he introduces her as his travel companion, so she becomes depressed because she wanted him to introduce her as his wife. A bear suddenly emerges behind her, but she glares at him and he becomes so scared that he collapses. He begs for his life, so she decides to make him her pet. But the girls are shocked as Riss explains that this will further increase Theo's reputation. He doesn't seem to mind, so he activates a restraint spell and transforms the bear into a cute creature. They name him Sia, and Balarosa can't believe they just tamed a bear. Moments later, the girls formally introduce themselves, and we learn that Valeri is the archer, Blossom is a heavy knight, and Bolano is the group sorceress. Balarosa asks Theo to train them so they can fight alongside the hero, telling him about the hero's army, which was decimated by a horde of psychotic bears. She explains that after the incident, the hero locked himself up and refused to fight until he found someone worthy to be his right hand. So the king ordered everyone to level up until they can defeat a bear alone. She begs for help, but Riss exudes a dark aura as she gets jealous of them. Theo senses her anger, so he explains that she's actually his wife, and this immediately makes her happy, saying he should teach the girls how to fight. The girls thank them, but they ask for another favor, wondering if he would let them sleep at the house because it's too dangerous to camp outside. Riss thinks it's okay since the house was provided by the guild for the mission, saying she will sleep beside Theo because they're married. Meanwhile, the demon Illuminus reports to the demon lord, saying the purification spell was cast by just one person, so he wonders who could be capable of doing this and orders her to capture him immediately. The next day, Theo wakes up and he's surprised to see Riss in front of him, but she reminds him that they're now married. He remembers that the previous night, Riss was ready to formalize their marriage and devote her body to him, but he rejected her, thinking it was too soon for them to do it. So he decided to sleep in the hallway, but Riss warned him that the others might suspect their relationship. Riss wants to help him change his clothes, but Balarosa suddenly enters the room to remind him of the training. Thinking she's interrupting them, she immediately leaves. leaves. They start the training by facing a giant boar, but Balarosa starts running away and Blossom attacks, but she misses, so Bolano protects her with a barrier. Balarosa launches an arrow, but it doesn't do anything, and Bolano starts feeling sick after using too much mana. The giant boar starts chasing them, and Theo realizes they have a long way to go. After the training, they go to their new home, and the girls thank Theo for allowing them to stay. He explains that he was able to buy the house at a discount after defeating the psychotic bears. Riss arrives, telling them that the food is ready, but Theo is shocked to see raw meat. She prepared it as a celebration for the new house, but he explains that humans prefer cooked meat. So he and Balarosa decide to prepare the meal, and Riss is confused, but Sia thinks the meat is great. The group thanks Theo for preparing the food, but he explains that he had help from Balarosa, so she blushes, thinking she's better in a kitchen than with a sword. They realize it's delicious, but Riss still can't believe this food can be tasty. Theo explains that he made the salad, so she decides to try it as his wife and discovers it has a great flavor. He suggests trying the meat, and Riss can't believe how crunchy and juicy it is, and wonders how grilled meat can be so good. While Theo thanks Balarosa for cooking the meat for her, they go to the guild to sell the giant bears, and Theo notices that everyone's staring at them, wondering if he overdid it. Riss asks permission to go to the city alone, while he waits for their goods to be evaluated. He asks her if she needs help, but she explains that she doesn't, saying she just needs to deal with personal matters. The head of the guild, Lilith, asks to talk to Theo in his office, while Riss stays and looks at the cooking poster. Lilith reveals that his fame has spread throughout the city, so Theo realizes that he really overdid it. Lilith explains that he received a request from the king to hire him as a knight and work under the hero, who is gathering powerful individuals to fight against the darkness. He admits that as the guild owner, he doesn't want to see Theo leave, but thinks he's important for saving the world. He thinks of Riss for a moment, realizing he has no reason to fight because he came from another world, so he refuses the offer. He leaves the guild, but he sees Riss in terrible shape, so he thinks it must be the work of a magical beast. But Riss just smiles at him, realizing that cooking is harder than she thought. We learn that she's taking a cooking course to impress him, but the first day didn't go well because she messed up all the recipes and blew up the kitchen. But she's determined to win his love by cooking. Meanwhile, the hero learns about Theo and Riss as Suya explains that they're hunting magical beasts, so the hero asks to bring them to him. A royal messenger arrives for Theo, but he denies the proposal from the castle, and Riss is annoyed with their persistence. Theo thanks Blossom for taking care of the garden, and they continue their daily training. Riss thinks Valeri should shoot three-eyed birds instead of wooden targets, but she hesitates because she doesn't want to kill a cute bird. Theo gives Bolano a magic ring to amplify her magical powers, so she gets surprised by the gift and tries to put it on her ring finger, but Riss appears out of nowhere and threatens to kill her if she does that. Balarosa is attacked by a giant insect and screams for Theo's help, but Riss cuts it in half and tells Balarosa to stop pretending to be helpless to get Theo's attention. Riss prepares a meal for everyone, and they can't believe it's so tasty. She admits that she's been taking cooking classes, but she never imagined it would be so much fun. So she serves a curry too and is delighted that he loves it, as she remembers her teacher mentioning that the strong seasoning shows the intensity of her love. They enjoy the food, but Euliminus is spying on them and she can't believe that Fenris is with a human. But Fenris suddenly appears behind her, and she brings Euliminus to Theo, who welcomes her with hot tea. Euliminus observes Riss's behavior and can't believe that the almighty Fenris is being controlled by an ordinary man. Riss explains that she's now married to him, but Euliminus can't believe it and tries to measure Theo's powers with her appraisal, but realizes she can't read his stats. She notes that this has never happened before, and we learn that even the demon lord can't hide his stats from her. She asks Theo about the forest since she found no magical beasts, but he explains that he used a purification spell, so she realizes he's the one she's looking for. She reveals that because of this spell, Riss's brother was killed along with his men. But Theo can't believe he's responsible for the death of Riss's brother. But Riss already knew about this, saying Theo is one of the few humans capable of using purification magic. She thinks it's her brother's fault for not being strong enough and explains her feelings haven't changed, so she'll dedicate her life to him. They suddenly notice the girls at the door, and we learn that they listen to the whole conversation, so they realize that Riss is the wolf that tried to kill them. Theo is worried, and Illuminus thinks he's a threat, so she challenges him to a fight, wanting to gather all information about his powers. But Riss thinks she's trying to steal her husband. They decide to fight outside, and Illuminus quickly launches a poison spell to distract him while casting another one on the ground. But he easily dispels her magic and traps her with his crucifixion spell, forcing her to surrender. The next day, Illuminus returns to the Dark Castle, and Theo tells the girls about Riss, assuring them that she has changed so she won't attack humans. They acknowledge that Riss has been helping them for the past month, and she has become their benefactor, so they don't want to harm her by telling the king. Illuminus has returned with an army of dragons, and the girls are terrified. So she asks them to surrender, but Theo is amazed, seeing dragons for the first time. So she becomes annoyed, ordering the dragons to attack. But Theo casts a celestial spell called Divine Hammer, which eliminates several dragons in an instant. She thinks this is impossible and flees along with the remaining dragons. Blossom thinks Theo is incredible and regrets not taking the opportunity to attack the dragon because she could have earned the title of Dragon Slayer, but Theo tells her to try, advising her to throw her weapon at them, so she follows his instruction, and he uses his enhancement magic to strengthen it, killing a dragon in one hit. Her level increases and she can't believe she has earned the title of Dragon Slayer. The other girls also want the title, but Theo explains that the dragons have already fled, so they realize it's too late. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord watches everything, and he looks forward to meeting Theo, telling his men that it's time to make their next move. Theo creates a barrier around the house, and he reveals that it will alert them when a demon enters the area. Riss thinks about Illuminus, saying Theo is too lenient because he didn't do anything to punish her after she attacked them, but he explains that he wasn't trying to be nice, and we learn that he still can't get over the fact that he killed Riss's brother. We see the girls looking at Blossom's stats, and they think the title of Dragon Slayer sounds cool. But Balarosa walks away, saying she needs to hunt magical beasts to get stronger, so they think she's amazing because she never stops training. But we see that she's actually crying because she wanted to have that title. She reveals that Dragon Slayer is a coveted title for adventurers, and it allows commoners to become nobles. So she regrets not taking the opportunity because she could have improved her family's life by acquiring the title. A wanderer suddenly approaches her, saying he's looking for Riss, but Balarosa finds him suspicious, so she threatens to kill him, knowing he's from the Dark Army. She asks him why he's looking for Riss, so he explains that he just wants to see her, and he decides to leave, but he mentions that he will return to talk to her. Balarosa tells him to identify himself, so he reveals that his name is Gozelle, and she thinks he's weird. Moments later, Theo approaches her, so she tells him about Gozelle, but Riss recognizes him, revealing that his real name is Gaul. Theo reveals that the barrier detected him, and it mentioned that he's the Demon Lord, so Balarosa freaks out, realizing that he could have killed her if he wanted to. The next day, Gaul arrives to visit Riss, and Theo introduces himself as he welcomes Gaul into the house. They have tea together, and Gaul explains that he knows what happened to Illuminus, but Balarosa can't believe she's sitting beside him. Riss asks him if he wants to get revenge, but he says he isn't interested, and he asks Theo if he wants to join the Dark Army, but he immediately refuses. Gaul tells him he has incredible power, wondering why he isn't working with the king. So he explains that he isn't interested in joining the war, and he has no idea why they're fighting, revealing that he's from another world. So Gaul reveals that the first Demon Lord started the war because he wanted to conquer the world. So the humans tried to stop him, but the conflict dragged on for 5 centuries, and Gaul isn't interested in ruling the world, so he wants to put an end to it. But he suddenly exudes his aura, seeing Theo as a threat to the demons, but he maintains his composure, saying he won't be participating in the war. So Gaul realizes he's stubborn, thinking this is the reason why the king couldn't get him to join the humans. But Gaul wants to recruit him into the Dark Army, so he mentions that he will return, and he finds Balarosa interesting because she didn't freak out while she was beside him. But after he leaves, the girls check on her and they realize that she's spaced out. She ends up losing consciousness, and after she wakes up, she sees Gaul in the house, and he mentions that Riss's cooking is delicious. But she tells him to go home because Theo will never join the Dark Army. He invites Balarosa to join them, but she declines, and he thinks it's because she's shy. Balarosa tries to avoid Gaul, but he tells her he wants to speak with her, so she runs away, saying she needs to train. Gaul keeps visiting the house, and a knight sees him, so he reports this to the king, who thinks Theo has joined the Dark Army. So he becomes upset, thinking Theo needs to be eliminated, but the princess advises him to reconsider because they aren't sure if Theo is working with the Demon Lord. So she suggests talking to him, thinking they should listen to what he wants, but the king thinks she's naive, and the hero arrives, saying he's going to deal with Theo. At the Demon Lord's castle, Uliminis has advised Gaul to focus on his duties, but he explains that he's trying to recruit Theo, and he decides to leave anyway. But she reveals that the demons aren't happy with his behavior, and they're starting to question him. We return to Theo as he thinks about selling gears to make a profit, knowing they need money to survive. Riss asks him why he didn't join the hero, knowing he could make a fortune by fighting the demons. But he explains that he doesn't want to fight anyone because he knows his powers are dangerous. But Valeri suddenly warns him that they're surrounded, and he realizes that the hero has arrived with a legion of knights. He accuses Theo of working with the Dark Army, and he threatens to kill Theo if he refuses to fight for the kingdom. The hero thinks Theo has no choice but to join him, thinking he's destined to become the greatest hero in the world. But Theo explains that he doesn't want to participate in the war, so the hero is shocked, and he calls Theo a traitor. But the girls defend him, saying he's a good man. But the hero thinks they're also traitors, so he threatens to arrest all of them for treason. Theo realizes that he has no choice but to leave, and the girls want to join him because they're starting to question everything they learned in the kingdom. They think the hero is despicable because he's threatening to kill innocent people, and they realize that the demons aren't evil, so they aren't interested in participating in the war. Theo uses his teleportation spell, causing a massive circle to appear, and the hero can't believe that Theo is using magic that he can't use. A pillar of light surrounds them as Theo is teleported away with his friends, and the knights can't believe that he was able to take the house and fields with him. But Gaul suddenly arrives, realizing that the house is gone, and he blames the humans, thinking they got rid of Theo. So he becomes enraged, threatening to kill everyone. He orders the Dark Army to attack the kingdom, and Uliminis is excited, ordering the demons to prepare for battle. A dark cloud appears, but the hero is afraid, so he runs away, and the knights can't believe he's leaving them behind. Theo and his friends are teleported to a forest, and he explains that they're close to a town, which he once visited to sell dragon materials. The girls think they should be safe there, and Balarosa is happy they won't see Gaul again. But Theo apologizes for causing trouble, so Riss tells him not to blame himself, saying she will join him wherever he goes because he's her husband, and the girls also agree to stay together. The Dark Army begins its invasion, setting villages on fire, and the humans try to stop them. At the northern stronghold, a knight reports to the king, telling him that the Dark Army is about to break through the stronghold. So the king wonders why the hero isn't doing anything, but the knight tells him that the hero is hiding in the south. So the king orders the knight to look for him. The king's advisors suggest gathering all the mages to cast purification magic, but he hesitates, knowing it's a risky move. So they tell him that he needs to act fast because it's all over for them once the demons break through the stronghold. We see Gaul observing the battle as his servant Grenell tells him the time has come, so he decides to retreat, knowing the humans are going to use a purification spell. The king leads the mages as they start chanting, and a pillar of light appears as a massive sigil covers the kingdom. Theo returns from his trip to the town, and he tells everyone that he was looking around the stores because he's planning to make money by selling gear. Blossom wants to help him by selling vegetables, and Valeri considers breeding horses so that she can have them rented out. Blossom explains that Valeri used to look after the horses in the castle, so she's used to handling them and she promises to do her best to support the household. Bolano and Balarosa feel useless because they can't think of anything to make money, but Riss promises to take care of them, and Theo tells them to help in the housework, saying they can focus on getting stronger during their free time. We return to the castle as the king's advisors report that the Dark Army has retreated because the mages were able to cast the purification spell, which will protect the kingdom for 3 months. But the prince realizes they're in terrible shape because they spent all of their magic to cast the spell. She knows that the king is in no condition to lead the kingdom, so she decides to take over. And she tells the advisors that the hero is useless, so she removes him from his position, but they ask her how she plans to deal with the Dark Army, thinking the kingdom needs a hero to lead them to victory, and the mages can't summon a replacement, so she decides to visit the Oracle. We see the hero getting kicked out as a knight tells him that the princess has given her orders, but he becomes angry, saying the kingdom needs him to protect them from the Dark Army, but the knight ignores him and leaves him outside. That evening, Theo tells Riss that he's grateful to her because she's helping him survive, but she falls asleep and he notes that he wouldn't be living a peaceful life without her. The next day, the girls tell Theo to go on a date with Riss, saying they can take care of everything while he's gone, and he appears to be embarrassed, but Riss is excited for their date. They visit the town together, and Theo asks Riss if she needs anything because he wants to buy something for her, saying he wants to thank her for staying by his side. They see a piece of jewelry and he decides to buy it, thinking it looks great on her. They return home, and Theo's about to go to sleep, but Riss hugs him, so he becomes flustered, but he realizes she's talking in her sleep. He gives her space, but she follows him, so he has a hard time falling asleep. At the castle, we see that the hero has broken into the royal treasury, thinking he might find an item that can help him defeat the demon lord. He thinks about Theo, and he becomes jealous because he isn't as powerful as him, but he suddenly hears a girl's voice, and she offers to give him power if he sets her free. A secret passage opens, and he sees a sword as the voice tells him to take it, saying she will grant his wishes in exchange. He accepts her offer, but he suddenly gets blown away as a powerful being appears. She introduces herself as Heya, the Magian of primordial light and darkness, and she asks him if he released her from the seal, so he confirms this, and she promises to grant 3 of his wishes. We see the princess as she meets the Oracle Ursula, telling her that the kingdom is in danger, so they need to find something that can save them from the Dark Army, but strange collars suddenly appear around everyone's necks, so they start to panic, and the princess orders her men to go to the royal treasury. Everyone wonders why they're wearing collars, so Ursula explains that they have been chosen as sacrifices, saying the Magian is going to behead them after she grants a wish. The princess reveals that the Magian was once summoned to eliminate the demon lord, but she took countless lives in exchange, so they decided to seal her. But the princess knows that someone broke the seal, thinking they're going to die after the Magian grants the wish, so she asks Ursula to find a solution. She starts her reading, and she tells the princess to find the true hero, saying he has already been summoned, and they can find him by searching the western part of the kingdom. So they know she's talking about Theo, and an advisor tells the princess to rally her soldiers to search the area, but she knows that the kingdom needs the soldiers to protect them, so she decides to find him herself. Theo visits a merchant who inspects the shield he brought with him, thinking it's amazing because it was made with dragon scales. The merchant mentions that someone brought dragon meat to the town, and Theo confirms that he did this, saying he has access to top quality products. So the merchant agrees to buy his shield, and he explains that he has other items for sale, saying he has just moved into the town, so he's looking for business partners, and the merchant looks forward to working with him. Balarosa observes him, and she's impressed because he knows how to do business. Riss knows that he used to be a merchant, thinking he must have been a big player before he was sent to their world. Balarosa admits that she likes him, but she takes it back because she doesn't want Riss to hate her, so she says she will just find someone like him. Riss thinks Gaul is a capable suitor, tutor, saying he likes her, but she's still afraid of him because she knows he's the Demon Lord. Theo joins them, saying he was able to sell the shield for a good price, and he thanks Balarosa for telling him about the shop. They decide to head home, and Riss knows Theo is going to be busy, but she tells him she wants to spend more time with him whenever he's free. But at that moment, the system warns Theo that Majin is approaching, and she appears, revealing that the hero's wish is to eliminate Theo. So she attacks him as the system shields him with a barrier, but Riss gets in the way, and she ends up getting mortally wounded. Heya creates multiple explosions, but Theo's barrier protects him, and she realizes that average magic won't work on him, so she prepares to cast an advanced spell. He tries to heal Riss, but the system tells him that the injury is too severe, so healing magic won't work on her, and he becomes worried, thinking he could lose her. Heya uses a powerful spell, which creates a massive explosion, but it still can't get past Theo's barrier. He recalls the moments he spent with Riss, and we learn that he always wanted to protect her because he can't imagine living without her. So he becomes angry, and he tells Heya that he will never forgive her as the system tells him that he has learned her abilities. He casts a time reversal spell which allows him to save Riss, and he wonders how he's able to use it, thinking humans are supposed to be weak. But he suddenly hits her, so she becomes upset, telling him that she has achieved the pinnacle of magic. But he smashes her to the ground, telling her to shut up. She tries to fight back, but he breaks through her spell and she can't believe this is happening. So she checks his stats, realizing his skills are infinite. He continues to beat her as she notes that she doesn't stand a chance, and Riss recovers, wondering why she isn't injured. So Balarosa explains that Theo saved her, but she's surprised to see him destroying Heya, and she thinks he's amazing, knowing he's doing this because of her. But she recalls that he doesn't like fighting, and he's always been merciful, so she realizes that he's completely lost it. Heya starts fearing for her life, and she begs for mercy, but Theo can't forgive her for hurting Riss, so he decides to strangle her to death. But Riss tells him to stop, saying she likes him because he has a good heart, so she doesn't want to see him lose his kindness because of her. He decides to spare Hoya, and he's happy to see that Riss is okay because he thought she wasn't going to make it. We cut to the princess as a group of mages teleport her to a forest, and she thanks them for their help, knowing their magic is still recovering. So she orders the knights to take care of them, saying she needs to look for the true hero, but their collars suddenly shatter, so she realizes that the Magian failed to grant the wish. Meanwhile, we see the guards at the royal treasury ordering the hero to surrender, though Suya panics, thinking they're going to get executed, but a voice mentions that the Magian has failed, and a dark energy surrounds her as it mentions that she will make a fine offering. The hero realizes that something's wrong, and she tells him that she's finally free, saying she's been sealed for centuries. She uses a spell to change her clothes, so the hero becomes confused because he knows that Suya can't use magic. She wants to thank him for setting her free, so she uses another spell, saying she's going to give him the power he desires as she introduces herself as Melienus. The hero transforms into a massive monster, and he helps her escape, planning to punish the royal family for sealing her. But she sees a teleportation circle, and she realizes that a member of the royal family left the castle, so she decides to search outside. Heya regains consciousness, wondering why Theo healed her, so he explains that he forgives her because Riss was able to survive. Balarosa asks him what they should do to her, thinking she's too dangerous, and he thinks about sealing her in the royal treasury again. She wonders how he found out she was sealed, so he reveals that he used a spell to look into her memories because he wanted to know why she attacked them. She can't believe he was able to do this because she thought she was the only one who could use that spell. Riss suggests letting her join the group, thinking her powers could serve them well. But Theo reminds Riss that Heya almost killed her, but she forgives Heya, blaming herself for being weak. So Theo decides to accept Heya into the group, telling her she can join them if she doesn't hurt people again. Realizes that he's nothing like the other humans she met because all of them were selfish, and she takes a liking to him, so she accepts him as her master. She looks forward to seeing what he can accomplish with his powers, and she remembers his eyes when he was angry, wondering why she feels so thrilled when she thinks about it. But Riss becomes jealous, asking her why she's blushing. Theo considers using the time reversal spell because he wants to help the villagers by undoing the damage, but Haya warns him not to use it again because it only moves time within a specified area, and it's possible for unforeseen accidents to occur if used on the entire village. She explains that humans aren't strong enough to use the spell, but Theo is an exception because his stats are infinite. She adds that he's capable of using total acquisition magic, which allows him to learn the spells of the person who attacked him. So he realizes that he can use the time reversal spell because he was able to acquire her abilities during their fight. But she tells him not to use it again, so he decides to use the restoration spell instead. Later that day, Theo returns home with Heya, who introduces herself to everyone, telling them she's going to be living with them. He explains that she didn't have a place to stay, so he decided to let her join them, and Balarosa tells her that her room is ready, but Valeri freaks out, thinking she's too dangerous to live with them. That evening, Balarosa talks to Theo, who tells her he's confused because he doesn't know what to do with his powers. She tells him she isn't as strong as him, but she's also confused because she doesn't know who she's supposed to be fighting. She explains that everything she learned in the kingdom is a lie, and she thanks him for helping her discover the truth. Theo joins Riss in the room, but she appears to be depressed, and she asks him if he's going to return to his world, thinking he's planning to use Majan magic to leave her. But he explains that he isn't going anywhere because he wants to be with her, asking her to be his real wife. He tells her that he can't imagine living without her, and she admits that she also has feelings for him. They start making out, but they see Haya in the room, and she reveals that she was watching them the entire time, saying it's her duty to look after her master. So Theo becomes upset, telling her not to spy on his private life, but she tells him there's no need to hide anything because mating is a natural behavior. Riss becomes angry, and she starts arguing with her as the girls listen to them, realizing they're having a fight. Heya offers to make herself invisible while she watches them, but they refuse, thinking that would be even worse. We see the princess in the town as she asks a merchant if he knows Theo, but he tells her he doesn't, so she leaves the shop wondering where she can find him. We see Theo's group enjoying a meal, as Riss reveals that Heya was the one who prepared it. She offers to clean the house for everyone, but the girls realize she's doing everything, thinking they're useless. The next day, we see Blossom working on a field because she wants to do her part for the household. Sia transforms into his bear form, and he helps Blossom with her task as Valeri works in the stables, revealing that she wants to work as a coachman, but she's stuck looking after the horses. We learn that Bolano is from a family of royal magi, and Theo has been teaching her how to use basic spells, so she wants to use her magic to help everyone. She hears Blossom screaming, so she rushes outside, realizing that a magical beast is destroying the field. It charges at her, so she uses a barrier to defend herself as Balarosa rises, thinking about killing the beast. She reveals that she brought it there, but it suddenly went berserk, so Valeri rides it and manages to calm it down. Everyone is impressed because she was able to tame it, but she thinks about the land around them and she considers buying it for the household. We see Theo walking around the town with Riss, and he sells his products to his business partner, who suggests putting gemstones on one of his goods. The merchant explains that gemstones are ridiculously expensive because they're difficult to find, but Riss realizes that a shadow is covering the town, and the hero arrives with Melinas. So the villagers panic, fearing for their lives as Theo realizes that everyone's in danger. The hero goes on a rampage, and Melinas sees the princess using a spell to blow her guards away. Haya approaches Theo, telling him she sensed an evil presence, and she explains that the monster is a human, but he's being controlled by Melinas. We learn that Melinas was once the strongest mage in the kingdom, but she started using forbidden magic, so the past hero had to get rid of her, but her consciousness remained in the kingdom, so they had to seal her in the pedestal of the sword where Haya was sealed. She knows that Melinas was revived after she was released because the humans used her powers to keep Melinas in check. She asks for permission to eliminate her, and Theo allows it, but he tells her to prioritize saving the lives of the villagers. Melianus is about to kill the princess, but there's suddenly an explosion as Heya arises, and Melinas tells her not to interfere, but he explains that she wants to get rid of her because she's disturbing her master, so she attacks Haya with a spell, but it doesn't work, as she explains that magic can't harm her. So the hero lunges at her as Melianus uses fire magic, but she still manages to defend herself. So Melianus uses a forbidden spell, which strengthens the hero, causing him to become massive. The princess realizes he could destroy the town, and the ground shakes as he moves. But he suddenly shrinks as the magic is dispelled. Theo arrives, revealing that he was the one who did it, and Heya begs him to let her finish the fight. Melianus can't believe that he was able to dispel her magic, and Heya uses a spell to get rid of her, trapping her soul in a pellet and returning Suya and the hero to their original forms. She eats the pellet as Theo wonders if she's going to be okay. So she explains that she has sealed Melianus in her psychic realm, saying she will keep her disciplined. They realize that the monster was the hero, thinking he's causing trouble for everyone, so they decide to lead him to the knights. The princess greets Theo, introducing herself as Elizabeth, and she thanks him for saving the kingdom. Knowing they didn't treat him well, she apologizes for their actions. She reveals that she dismissed the hero because he's completely useless, and she went to the town to search for Theo, inviting him to become the true hero of the kingdom. But he refuses, saying he doesn't want to fight for humans because he just wants to enjoy a peaceful life with Riss. They return to their home, and Valeri welcomes him back, saying she wants to expand the land because she plans to breed magical beasts. Blossom explains that the lands can also be used to plant vegetables, which Valeri can deliver using her beasts. But Riss thinks the beasts will never obey humans, so she suggests using normal horses instead. But Valeri explains that horses are expensive, saying it's possible to tame magical beasts. Theo thinks it's a great idea, but he explains that lands cost a fortune and the girls can't afford it, so he offers to buy it for them, saying they can pay him back by managing the land and giving him a portion of their earnings, and they think this is a great idea. The girls start plowing the land as Theo suggests growing vegetables that are difficult to find in the area. He explains that he can use his magic to help them, but Blossom refuses, saying she doesn't want to rely on him. He mentions that she can use a spell to help them, but Blossom explains that vegetables are only delicious if grown naturally, so she wants to nurture them without magic. But Bolano wants to see Heia's magic, revealing that she now works as an instructor in a magic academy, and she thanks Theo for teaching her the basics. She reveals that she's still learning new spells, and she realized that magic can be used to make life easier, so she begs Blossom to let Heia use her spell. Theo suggests using magic on a small portion of the field so that they can tell if it affects the taste of the vegetables, and Blossom agrees to this. To all Leaf Village ninjas, that is it for today. Recap: do not forget to join our clan, our army, my friend. You can do that by clicking that red button below the video. Destroy it for me with that bell. To follow us on YouTube with many videos to come in the following days. So see you later, bro. Peace out.